on to Celtic then. A share of the points in the Champions League against Club Brugge. A very contrasting opening half to what we're used to seeing, Ruffy, at Celtic Park.
Yeah, I thought this team were particularly good. You know, I think we spoke about it last week. I mean, they went to Aston Villa, you know, and won 1-0. You know, so you know, I think Celtic knew what they were going to get. It was a free-flowing game. They had chances, Celtic had chances. You know, I think they had maybe more than Celtic early on. I think Celtic goalkeeper had a good save at one each. You know, but Cameron Vickers will be still having nightmares about that. It's I was really. When he said he couldn't hear, you know, he said the noise in the stadium, he was shouting, "Here I am," you know, but obviously with the buzz in the ground, that Carlton Vickers couldn't hear where he was, you know, so he just sort of naturally turned around and thought he was there. But I think Schmeichel had come out to make it easier for Kuhn, and the boy cut the avenue off, and just one of these things that happen. But it's horrible when you're a goalkeeper and you're running after it. You think you're going to get there, but you know you're not going to get there, and all of a sudden you're in the net and you're picking yourself out. But no, I thought they come back, they composed themselves and come back. And I think at the end of the day, a draw was a good result.
Was it a bit of naivety there, David, from Carter Vickers?
Yes, as we've touched on there, the noise at Celtic Park, especially on the Champions League night, it would be hard to hear. And it's just one of those unfortunate ones, as you said. He's made the angle for Kuhn to play him, to probably go long, gets cut out and goes Carter Vickers, who's just no awareness of where Schmeichel is at that moment in time.
You can see it the minute it leaves his
emotion.
He knows, you can just see the horror on his face, you know it's coming.
The picture of him with his hands.
It's like watching it in slow motion almost, you can see it trickling in. But yeah, I think it's just anticipation. He absolutely anticipates that Schmeichel is in the centre of the goal. It's completely oblivious to the fact that he's moved for Kuhn. I thought Kuhn could have done better with where he was. I think you know, he kind of put Schmeichel in a position to have to take it, but it's such a poor goal to lose at Champions League level, although you would have to say at that point Bruges were well worth the goal of a lead. They were very
I think also when it goes into Kuhn, he's expecting to have the bounce pass to start with.
Yes.
When there's usually you've got a sitting midfielder coming around to take that pass, there's no one there. So he's naturally going straight back to goal, and yeah, as soon as that one gets cut out, it's only Carter Vickers he has, which is unfortunate that he's not aware of where Schmeichel is.
Absolutely, it was the same starting 11 against RB Leipzig. What did Bruges do to limit Celtic, or what did Celtic not do in the first half particularly?
I don't think they were at their fluent best. They obviously had a tough game as well at the weekend, getting into that Champions League game away to Tynecastle, that is always a tough game, that, regardless of how Hearts have been doing, because I thought they played well first half of that game. And when you're playing similar teams constantly, it does take its toll, especially going up against top clubs, and Bruges are a very good club. They've been in Champions League previously, making it hard for teams, as you said. Villa, great result. So I don't think one each is a bad result, especially in the position that Celtic are in. They're still in good shape to qualify.
And these teams do their homework. They identify the players like McGregor. Yeah. You know, you get two players on McGregor that stops his movement and his, you know, the way he's dictating the game. Celtic fullbacks love getting forward. So when you get possession of the ball, you just hit it into that area, and it's just doing your homework, you know, but you've just got to combat that.
Arne Engels was also a player who was kept quiet on Wednesday night. He's only 20 years old. He's come under a bit of criticism, but here's what Brendan Rodgers had to say about the youngster. I would hope that people learn their lesson. The same people that were writing off Paulo Bernardo and Nicholas Kuhn, you have to look and understand that development takes time. Some will hit the ground running and adapt perfect, but not everyone is like that, especially a young player. Is he a confidence player, Alison? Does he need to do something in the game to play well?
I think he looks a wee bit as though he's lost a bit of confidence. I thought he started particularly well when he first came in. I do wonder about the £11 million price tag that's round his neck. You think if Celtic had maybe paid £2 or £3 million for him, would there be as much scrutiny on him, or would it make it easier, for example, to say Bernardo starts ahead of him for a time? I think when you've paid that amount of money, is there a pressure to keep him in the starting 11 all the time? He's 21, he's in a new footballing culture, a new environment, a new way of playing within a league that he's adapting to. I think Brendan Rodgers is right to say, can people calm down a little bit? Can they get off his back and give him a bit of time? I think he'll come good for Celtic. I think it would be beneficial maybe to take him out of the starting 11 for a bit. But he's right, this time football fans are so incredibly fickle. 6 months ago, if you'd said to any Celtic fan over the summer, someone's come in for Kuhn, would you take the money? They wouldn't have blinked an eye. It happens repeatedly, I think, with players, that you get a very, very quick judgment and reaction without really giving them time to settle in. I think what you've seen, the early evidence of what he's contributed across the opening months of his Celtic career would suggest that he'll go on to be a fairly positive signing for Celtic. I think it's far too early to be making judgments.
Is that £11 million price tag a pressure in itself for him?
I think it is, yeah, and especially when you're only 20-year-old as well. He's young, he's moving to another country, he's having to adapt to it. You don't get a lot of time in Scottish football, people are on you straight away, and it takes a lot of people time to adapt. And I think, as you said, Nicholas Kuhn's a perfect example. Last season he didn't light the world on fire, whereas this season he's been excellent. So sometimes going to another country, you do need that time to adapt, and it's the same thing. I think he'll be totally fine. And plus, he's been playing a lot of football as well. He's been away with Belgium, playing 2 games previously as well. So you've got to factor in a lot of that as well.
A lot of things as well, people don't realise that the majority of people who come to Rangers and Celtic for other clubs don't play in front of 60,000 people. No. You know, there might be a reasonable club, but they're only getting 25, 30,000, and then when you go into that arena, you know, you've got to produce it, and if you're not producing it, as Alison says, your confidence is going to be dented a wee bit. So it's up to the manager to assess, you know, and look after the player, which I think Brendan Rodgers will do.
I think it's microscopic. If you play for Celtic and Rangers, as you'll know, the pressure is relentless. It's absolute. It's when you're playing, it's when you're not playing, it's walking about the city being asked and being stopped by people. I think it probably could be quite overwhelming when you're walking into that sort of area. I think Glasgow is a city that likes to lay claim to its footballers. I think, you know, you're living your life in a very public domain, and it's a small city. There's not a lot of escape from it. I think it can be really quite intense for players, and just getting used to that probably takes a bit of getting used to. We've grown up in the west of Scotland. You understand what that's like. I think coming into it new, I think would be different. I think it's not like other places, like where it might be a bit more relaxed. I think there's a focus and an intensity if you play for Celtic or Rangers that it probably takes certain players aback.
It's even worse if you're in Glasgow and you start getting chased.
Oh, really?
That'll be a new thing.
Is that after one of the World Cup?
Looking to buy a car? Click the link below.